Thank you for all of that. It's interesting to be at a place to read poetry where my most political poems won't run people out of the room. So just, you can't really understand how much I appreciate that. So here goes, 5 quick political poems. First one is called Mrs. Butterworth, Uncle Ben and Aunt Jemima, pulled from the headlines. Mrs. Butterworth, Uncle Ben and Aunt Jemima walk into a bar in America. Butterworth says, I'm being repackaged. Ben says, I'm being rebranded. Jemima says, I remember when they branded my mama on her back. The bartender says, I could stand in the middle of Main Street and kill somebody, and I wouldn't lose any voters. Butterworth says, then I'll take 8 bullets in my sleep. Ben says, choke me to death with your knee. Jemima says, lock me in a holding cell and say I decided to hang myself. The bartender poured the drinks, said he felt threatened and was simply standing his ground when he thought the thug was reaching for a gun. The headline said, well-loved American foods resisted arrest, failed to comply, and were delicious while black. Butterworth's daughter said, here's the progress. We might finally get an anti-lynching bill. Ben's son said, I'd rather they abolish qualified immunity. Jemima's kid said, you know, they abolished slavery once. Then they hung my mama on that box. All right. This next poem is as close as I could get to the George Floyd situation without replaying the whole event. This is a persona poem in the voice of the knee called Complicit at Most. I am no more guilty than the officer's eyes choosing to look the other way. Technically, I'm not even touching his neck. All I could feel was the hot cotton insides of Officer Chauvin's slacks against my skin. Almost 9 minutes is a long time to kneel on the neck, especially if you're unaccustomed to praying or begging. But after pressing all of me down, he put this all on me, as if he was planning to propose, but got cold feet and was too embarrassed to get up and just walk away from this altercation, marrying us both to this moment till death do us part. All right, hang in there. This third poem was written after hearing how bad the COVID situation was in meat packing plants and the choices to keep them open instead of providing immediate safety for the workers. It's called Ode to Meat Packers, with epigraph that says the U.S. has been hardest hit with outbreaks of COVID-19 at more than 180 meat and processed foods plants. That's an article from The Guardian. Oh, you of tired feet, sore hands, weary second shift eyes, and darker minimum wage skin. The executive order signed by the president to keep your plants open, to keep meat in grocery stores and on America's tables, despite the need for more spacing on your lines, personal protection equipment, more sanitizing stations and barriers to separate workers, at least implies you are now essential. Forget the ICE raids, families at the border, and children still in cages. Ignore the prioritization of beef over ventilators, pork over vaccines, and poultry over tests. Now that it is considered patriotic for somebody to die for the economy, take heart. In case you missed out on a signed stimulus check, his autograph is on the order. And it makes it clear that he takes responsibility this time and almost acknowledges your sacrifice and your place in the supply chain to satisfy America's appetite. Yeah, I know, these aren't love poems. All right, I'll close with these two. This next poem is called DJ Battle. And the epigraph says, when the looting starts, the shooting starts. President DJ Trump. The oppressor's private property is always more important to the privileged. Their power is what police protect. Backed by a National Guard fronting a commander-in-chief known to incite and encourage violence against POC by the FOP and other good people versus thugs. If you don't understand this behavior or these people, you don't understand emotional or psychological trauma. You don't understand generational grief, and you really don't understand injustice or American history. No justice, no peace, no justice, no peace, no just ICE raids, no guilty cops, just us, dead, dying, and chalk marked over and over again like some whack DJ, rewinding the bridge or dead refrain, scratching at our eyes with already viral, breathless black body porn, professionally made by the hands, feet, and now knees of thug police again. Instead of turning the tables, we drag out turntables and spin and spin and spin, searching old wax, seeking to sample something human, anything truly good to mix with this black in our lives until we matter. And I'll close with this poem called To the Man Spewing Spit and Vitriol in the Trooper's Face at the Capitol. And this is for Michigan. Expressing so much passion towards a woman who is not even there, a kiss away from a man who pretends that you aren't there either, has to be a whole chapter in the S&M Guide in the Universe to a Sex Manual for Broken Men. Maybe the ever-present Confederate flags are constant reminders of a time when a noose and the rope that birthed it was not intended for the woman you pay to bind you at night, or for bad hombres and the N-words you fear she dreams about. Maybe you handcuff her because the police academy rejected you too. And when you role play, she is Emmett Till or Trayvon or another 14-year-old boy. But that will make you a pedophile, and you aren't sick, just angry at a woman who you believe locked you up too tight, stripped you of your liberties, made you feel like 3/5 of a man, except for the massive gun you are carrying, which is not about overcompensation per se, but about expressing the freedoms you claimed you no longer have, because a woman in the State House gave you no choice, took something precious and sacred from you without your consent, or before you could even agree on a safe word. Thank you, ACLU.
Hello. Hi, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you, Amber. Thank you all for inviting me. I'm just going to read a few poems from my collection, Two Brown Dots. This first one, I think this is the first time I've read this in public, so yay. This is a poem about my neighborhood that I grew up in and that I also currently live in. This is called Where Good People Live. We've got this circle of grass with an old American sycamore spread 100 or so feet wide, its branch arms taking up space I learned not to. When it's a drought, a neighbor's hose finds its way to the root mouth of the tree. Someone really cares about that tree, my husband says. I learned last year that this neighborhood was established as a whites-only space. A clause in the deed made the homeowners promise to never let a black person live here. In 1987, my white passing mom and my dark-skinned dad bought a tiny brick house here, its back pressed to the train tracks, dark in the shadow of sycamores. It might be a fact that we were the first to integrate this historically white space. The promise not broken, but surely bent. Our melanin meant for the Philippine sun, sallow in Kentucky winters, years and years before we saw another dark face. the skeleton beams of a house where my little sister first met racism, some boys throwing rocks and slurs telling her to go back. Kids feared my brown dad with the long ponytail and nicknamed him the Cobra. A girl up the street couldn't play with me because I looked dirty. There's a sign when you get here that names our neighborhood, an acronym of the streets that make us up: Wabash, Goodrich, Pensacola, Lackawanna, WGPL, claiming it's where good people live, a shade different from the original 1940s ads for these plots, bragging only the best kinds of people will be approved. Okay, so I have two more poems left out of the three. So this one is Self-Portrait as Manananggal. And the Manananggal is a Philippine monster. She's similar to a vampire, but she has bat wings and she like wreaks havoc at night and like sucks people's blood and stuff. But she's a little different because she splits in half at the waist, and the top half of her goes and does stuff, and the bottom half just chills. So she's pretty cool. I'm very interested in this monster as sort of like a metaphor for Asian Americanness and having to split yourself in two and exist in two different ways as separate and different people. So this is Self-Portrait as Manananggal. They ask me where I'm from, and the answer is hundreds of years old. Is that last name Spanish, from Spain? I sharpen my claws and answer carefully. Originally, I say, because colonization. They tell me they need to read up on that. When I split in two, they don't understand. They speak louder and slower. They explain what should be done instead. Where are you really from? Or, I don't see color. I leave my brown legs and ass in a secret place and rise above, meaning aerial, bat's eye view, inhaling through my nose and counting to 10. I come back and combine with myself. I fill in the bubble marked other. I use a hyphen. In the Philippines, they deter me with seasoning, salt, garlic, ash. They reflect me ghostly on billboards, erase my melanin with papaya soap and Photoshop. Here, I am repelled by questions, mispronunciation, fetish, and the phrase, I know how it feels to be. So this is my last poem. I recently heard this poem read by the Kentucky U.S. Poet Laureate, Ada Limon. You might have heard of her. She read it on the slowdown, so my friends are calling this my hit single. So the form of this poem is a hustle, which is in couplets, and every couplet ends in the same word, and the last line usually has the poet's name in it. So this is Hustle for Dog Eaters. Someone yelled, "That dog gonna end up in a pot of rice," at Margaret Cho, and she tells the story in her stand-up as a joke. When I waited tables, someone's dad ordered fried lice. Someone's brother made a dog meat in the egg rolls joke. In 1904, they shipped 1,200 Filipinos, shivering in a train car from Seattle to St. Louis for a human zoo, no joke. They forced them to eat 20 dogs a week, a spectacle for the fairgoers, the butt of the joke, the root of the joke. Once, a coworker barked like a dog because someone else ate Chinese food, but calm down, it was just a joke. When I told her it wasn't okay, she cried, called me a bully. She asked me in tears, "Danni, why can't you take a joke?" Thank you.